Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics video on the channel. It is Wednesday and time for some trade talk ahead of round 14, the third of the bye weeks. Crazy that this is the middle bye week of the 5 that we've got. So we've still got another 2 bye weeks after this. There's still 3 in total to go. But that at least means still got plenty of trades. Still got 3 trades for the next 3 weeks, which is going to be nice to hopefully get those final rookies off field for when we go to best 22 and hopefully have all our rookies off the field. That is the aim that we'll be looking for anyway. But obviously, as always, we'll go through the top 10 most traded in-out players of the week, also touching on a couple of other players, my top 5 targets of the week, and then we'll go to my trades ahead of round 14. So let's kick it off with the most trading players of the week. And starting us off is Zach Johnson. 8.7k have jumped on him so far. And I think he's the pick of the rookies this week. Had a good score of 79 on the weekend. Obviously had a good game. Obviously, it's still lower time on ground, but still 51k made, but minus 11 break even. Second lowest in the game, only behind Nick Madden. I think it's a very good option. Obviously, it would be fantastic if he already had a buy, but he's got a buy coming up. But I think he'll still make some good coin over the next 2 weeks. And doesn't have to be traded out, but I think he'll be a good player to then trade out post buys if that's a guy that can get you a final upgrade, or maybe even if you're in a really good spot, gives you the cash to then upgrade another rookie to get a 23rd primo. That could be something that you could potentially look at doing. So Zach Johnson, I like him as a pick this week and someone I'll talk about in my trade plans this week. Matt Kennedy is the second most traded player of the week, 5.7k, jumping on him. Very good option. I like Matt Kennedy if you've got the money to spend on him. $1.066 million. Obviously, 132 last week. His biggest score of the season. His first score over 120 for the year as well. I think I'm picking him, again, more with this consistency. That's now 7 tons in a row. Hasn't gone below 89. He's only gone below 89 once this year and gone below 90 twice, that one then being an 89, right? So he's been very consistent, getting it done every week, but it's this fixture run coming up. St Kilda, Richmond, Sydney, North Melbourne, then Adelaide. Really, really good run coming up for Matt Kennedy. I think some good scores can definitely come there. He's been consistent. He's a lock for a top 3 forward, I think. I know that Treloar, obviously come back, he'll get some more midfield time. Liver didn't play as much midfield time, but I just think Kennedy is shown that he's just going to get it done, and I think he's still going to be a very good forward for us. So if you can get him, I like him as an option. Hugh Jackson, next on the list. I do prefer Zach Johnson over him, but Hugh Jackson is an option. Break even a 1. Obviously had the sub game where he started in his first game. Scored I'm just getting up his numbers here. So he scored the 26 from, I think, about 1.5 quarters. Then obviously the 62 on the weekend, which was obviously a bit better. Don't think he's going to be a huge scoring player, but if he can stay in the team, I think he's definitely an option. I do think that Zach Johnson, if he can get that extra 25k, is worth getting with the minus break even. But the positive for Hugh Jackson is he's already had a bye. So he's now going to keep playing, hopefully moving forward if he stays in the team. So if you're extremely heavy on round 16, maybe you can't go Zach Johnson. I'd still go him and work around it because at the end of the day, Zach Johnson might not count for your best 18, but he's shown the weekend that he can score a decent enough score. So I still like Jack Johnson more, but Jackson is an option if you'd like to go there. Tom McCarthy is the interesting one. So 5,000 jumping on him. He's the 4th most trading player at the moment. And I know Drew Jones, shout out to obviously Goat Fantasy, saying that he's heard some whispers that Tom McCarthy might make his debut. I still think because there's Johnson there, there's a few guys there, I would still be wanting, again, if you need a 230k, if you need as much money as possible, I'm happy to jump on this way, right? His role should be good. He should stay in the rest of the remainder of the year. But you don't have to get him this week. He's 230k. He's got a break in 25. You can wait a week to see how he goes. Who knows if he's the sub first game. I hope he's not, but he could be. But as I said, if you need all the money, he's the pick of the 230k rookies, right? And I still like him as an in because I think he'll play full games at some point. But I'd prefer to go for Johnson, who's got that minus break even. Tom McCarthy versus Jackson's interesting. I'd probably go McCarthy over Jackson, I reckon, just because you saved a little bit of money, and I think McCarthy's more likely to stay in the team long term. Jackson could be out, but Jackson has had a couple of good games, right? So maybe because Jackson's already had the bye, maybe he could be there. So Jackson versus McCarthy is really interesting. It's very, very line ball. You could say Jackson because he's had the bye already. Then you could say McCarthy because he's likely to be staying in the team for longer. it's interesting. It's an interesting topic. Sam Doherty is next. 5th most trading player, 4.8k jumping on him. I'm a fan of this one, and I'm definitely looking at him as a target this week. Back-to-back scores of 112, and we know when Doherty's playing half-back, which is the role he's moved into, we know what he can do, right? He's not going to go and average 120. Those days they're gone. But in saying that, can he average 100 in this role? Absolutely he can. Whether he does or doesn't, obviously we don't know, but in this role, he's averaging 112 at the moment playing there. So, obviously, the time on ground is normally up when playing this role. Marks were there. The interesting thing was, obviously, he had the 30 touches. The only reason he didn't go as much with all those marks is he had the 2 tackles, which is obviously helpful. He kicked a goal. So, he can get there in a number of ways. Like, he does lay a few tackles. It was surprising he didn't lay a tackle. I think he laid a few, but they didn't count because he tackled and the Essendon players got rid of it to a teammate. But if he can lay a couple of tackles, that will mitigate those. I know the marks are up, but I think he can get other areas. 26 touches. He got 30 the week before. So I really like him as a target. West Coast and North, a couple of decent matchups there. 821k, break-in 65. I think he ticks a lot of boxes. And as I said, I'm looking at bringing him in this week. So I think he's a very good target. Nick Madden is next, 4.8k. I like it because he'll make money, at least for the next 2 weeks. The thing I think this works well for owners that have got a max gone that want to keep gone, because then you've got cover next week. If you're just bringing him in just for cash gen and you can't get his score, maybe you've got a Marshall, maybe you've got a Cherry, maybe you've got a English. Darcy Cameron's got bye this week. So if you do have Darcy Cameron, Madden makes a lot of sense because you cover him this week with Madden. But if you've got, again, like a lot of people do, Cherry, Marshall, or English, two of those three, it doesn't. I don't know if you you can, but obviously you're just getting it purely as a bench play. You can't get him on field, right? So, and that's where I'd prefer to go Johnson, because you can count towards your score, and obviously he's got the same buy, right? So I think a lot of people are going to go both just to get that cash gen going, because they're going to make some cash. And Madden's got the ability that if he plays well next 2 weeks, does he stay in the team post-bye? Because I know that Briggs has been down on form this year and they've been disappointed with the way he's played. I still think Briggs is the number one. I think he comes back in when he's fit. But just be interesting to see what happens when Briggsy is fit. And if he were to be that guy, Madden could be the guy that makes a lot of cash for us and is someone there. But you could obviously get him, I think, post-buys if that were to be the case. But Madden, he does have McInerney if he's back this week, but then into Witt. So it's not easy matchups. And he had... Oh, I was trying to hold that away, but no, it had a yawn. But yeah, still an option for sure that you can look at. Luamon Luau is next on the list, 3.4k. Played good. I thought he played quite well, actually. Showed some good signs there. I just, again, prefer Zach Johnson. I prefer McCarthy if he makes his debut. I think I prefer Jackson as well. So just down the list, if this was any other week, probably would have been an option. Defender as well. Probably not really looking for defender rookies at the moment, with McCarthy being an option there. We're really looking for the forward rookies, which obviously we'll touch on one in a second there as a potential option. But Luau is an option. Played well. I just think there are other options I would prefer this week. Bloody hell. Bloody tired. Zach Butters is next on the list, and I'm a big fan of this one. Obviously, his value. 104 last week against Bedford was good. Bedford didn't really take him as hard as what I thought he was going to, but 120 break-even means you don't have to go there, but he's down 153k for the year, went down 30k on the weekend. The only thing that I guess is the flag for me, as someone looking to bring him in, is when do I bring him in? Because the next 3 weeks, he's got some potential tags on the horizon. So he's got, look here, Melbourne. They just used Ed Langdon to tag Dacos within an inch of his life. They're not going to do it as hard a tag, I wouldn't imagine, this week, but does someone go to a Butters this week? Then they go to James Jordan, would probably go to a Zach Butters there. Then Carlton, we just saw Chincotta tag Merritt. I think Chincotta would go to a Zach Butters here. Brisbane, don't run tags at all. I know Dunkley goes usually head-to-head with someone, probably goes maybe with a Horn France, if Horn France in the midfield, maybe goes to Butters at stoppage, but won't be as hard a tag as like what it was with like a Dawson. West Coast be fine. Hawthorn, they haven't really been tagging as much this year. He'll be fine there. Crows be fine. So after that, it's fine. It's just the next 3 weeks. Is there some potential tags there? The Carlton one's probably the one I'm most concerned about. But yeah, I think he's a good option still to bring in. I guess I'm just trying to nitpick in terms of so I got a lot of options I'm considering this week. Do I go Butters this week, or do I wait a week or two and bring him in? But he's going to be value for a couple of weeks. Still breaking into 120. You don't have to go there this week, but good option. Obviously got Melbourne this week. I think he is still a good target. Ted Closey, 9th most trading player this week, and he's a forward rookie as well. So I still don't love it though. I know he's a forward rookie, but 278. He's been sub how many times? He's dropped so much money. He was up at near 400k, and then he dropped money. He's now back at 278. Played pretty well on the weekend, but if we look at here, had a few games in the team that scored 40s, then was sub, and then full game. So Baz, hopefully he's back this week. I just don't know if the consistent games are going to be there for him. He'll be sub a few times. It might be out of the team. That's the only thing I don't love. But if you just need a forward rookie, he's almost as good as any to bring in if you're looking for someone there. And then Nasai Wangani Miller rounds out the top 10 most trading players. Not really much more to add with Nasai. He's a gun. If you don't have him, he's a great target. They've got so many games at Marvel to finish the year. So I think he is, again, in saying that, very good target. Averaging 106 for the year. One of the best players in fantasy, let alone as a defender. Look at that. He goes Marvel, Optus, Marvel, GMHBA, Marvel, MCG, Marvel, NG. So many games at Marvel. We know that this happens every year, the back half of the year for the Saints. Some good matchups in there as well, particularly from rounds 20 to 23. That month, I think we all need to have Nasai and Sinclair in our teams. So, I think great options. And Nasai, if you don't have him, is as good as any option this week. I'm a big fan of bringing him in. I've obviously owned him for a number of weeks and been thoroughly enjoying owning him. So, jump on. Just outside the top 10, so Kai McKercher is here. I really like Kai McKercher as a pick. 633k, scored the 91 on the weekend, had 35 touches, but only had the 1 mark and 1 tackle, which is where he didn't get the score. Gave away a couple of frees as well. I'm viewing this as a non-owner, probably getting away with the fact he didn't go as big as what he probably could have. West Coast, obviously, are a tougher matchup for defenders. Only had the 1 mark. I think there'll be games here where he gets 5, 6, 7 marks, maybe more, and can really get those 110 scores. I'm not saying he's going to average 110 from here, but I'm saying that ceiling, I think, potentially is there for him to access because of this role. And I think the big thing for me, I mentioned this on the pod last night with the boys, is that Harry Sheezel on radio last week mentioned and said that North Melbourne, the back half of the year, are going to be the players with roles. They're going to stick to the one role. So if that's a mid-forward role, if that's a defender role, if that's a full forward ruck, whatever. No one's replacing Cherry's ruck anyway, but you guys know what I mean, right? So they've said that they're going to be keeping people in the same role to get that consistency going to play better. We've seen Sheezel's playing this mid-forward role. I think McKercher can play this defensive role for the back half of the year. So I think he's a great buy. He's a guy that you'd argue and say is a quote-unquote like a keeper, if you want to use that term, or someone that you'd be happy with in your best 22. If he's your D6 coming out of the buys, I think be pretty happy with that if he's in this role. I think he will be. I think he's a great target and someone I'm definitely looking at, particularly for those teams as well that have got low team value and he can make some cash. He's down over 200k for the year because he was playing that forward role, but he's now gone 91, could have been bigger. I think he's a really good option and someone I'm definitely looking at. Jack Sinclair, great target. So, as I said with Nasai, they've got so many games at Marvel. I think Sinclair's a great target. He's a bit cheaper than Nasai. I think I'd still just prefer Nasai, but Sinclair's a fantastic option as well. Maybe you go the cheaper guy as well. That is obviously a play. Nasai's probably the guy that's going to get the attention over Sinclair now, so maybe you go Sinclair for being a bit cheaper, but I do love Nasai, but I also really like Sinclair. So it's just a tick over $1 million, breaking 80. He's not getting any cheaper anytime soon. If you can get to him, I really like him. And he's someone, again, I've considered potentially this week, bringing in if I'm going to pay up for someone. Jackson, I like him as an option still. Probably want to see one more week just to be sure that this is the role moving forward as that number 1 ruck, but then when he's not in the ruck, when Darcy's, he's in the midfield. So just something to watch, but he was pretty bloody good against Gold Coast, and first ruck to ton up, even though as a midfielder, they're one of the best to score against, and obviously when he's playing mid is when he's also scored points. So it sort of counteracted the tough matchup there, but he was obviously very, very good regardless. Caleb Sarong's there as well. He's an option. I'm just not still as confident on him. He's only averaging 93 for the year. He's got a, what did he go before the bye? Like a 110. Yeah, 111. It's only second score over 110 this year. only his 5th ton. He's got a lot of these lower scores. He's obviously the number 1 tag target still. Played 90% game time there as well, which is... His game time has really taken a big uptick over the last 3 weeks, over 84% each of those. I just think there are better options this week. He's cheap. I'm not denying that he's cheap and potentially some value. He's down over 150k for the year. I just do worry that when you look at the players like you like Bont to an extent, but also like particularly like a Jordan Dawson, like you're looking at the top of the tree, like comparing them. Dawson racks up the marks and the tackles. And when he doesn't have one, he normally has a lot of the others. Like on the weekend, he only had the 4 marks, took all 3 of them in the last quarter, I believe it was. But he had 11 tackles. Whereas Sarong doesn't really rack them up. Okay, he had 8 tackles in round 8. He had 7 tackles in round 4, but his marks, he hasn't taken over 4. He's taken 4 once, and that was in round 5. But normally, he only gets a couple of marks, maybe 1 or 2 tackles, or the other way around. And he's got to get like high 20s plus disposals to get a good score. So, like, even the game against the Dogs didn't take any marks, had 7 tackles, did have 38 touches though, a lot of handballs. So that's just the worry with Sarong moving forward. But again, not bad target. I do prefer a couple of guys around that price though, which is probably why I've got him down on my list. Miles Bergman is an option. Obviously, McKerch is there. Doherty's there, and then Bergman. I've probably got Bergman as number 3 of those 3. If I'm splitting them, I've probably got Colby at 1 just for the value, Doherty at 2, and then Bergman at 3. I think Doherty's got the highest ceiling of all 3. The only thing I don't like about Bergman, I still think he's a good target if you are looking at him potentially. 770k is still cheap, right? But he was following Toby Green around everywhere. He's obviously following that mid-forward around everywhere. They got Melbourne this week. Is that a Pickett or a Petrarca? Into a potentially a Heaney or a Warner, then probably a Cripps, then maybe a Lockie Neal if he looks to go there, or even a McCluggage, right? And I think a lot of these guys will play a lot of midfield time, so I don't think it's as bad as the Toby Green. Horn France will be back as well. I think Berman's still going to play midfield regardless, and look to go head-to-head with someone. I just think that role week to week and quarter to quarter is going to be, could be a hard watch. So I don't like him as much, and I'm not sure I'd recommend him necessarily as a trade target, but he is cheap. His value, I jumped on him last week, and I'm saying that as an owner, watching him pretty closely on Saturday night. So if you're keen, I think you can still jump on, but I think I'd definitely prefer the other 2 over a Bergman. Brayshaw obviously comes by, a good target. Holmes has got a buy coming up. It was obviously great, but I'm not sure I'd be taking him just with the buy coming up. Rosie, obviously buys happen, good target. Hewitt is an option. I'd prefer Sam Walsh, who's down here. I'd prefer Walsh over Hewitt, but obviously the Carlton mids, it's pretty hard to pick week to week. But Walsh is up. CBA's took an uptick on the weekend. He was the 2nd behind Cripps. Could be an option for you there, Walsh. Hewitt is obviously an option as well. Started really well, had a pretty quiet patch, but back to a 120 on the weekend. So if you think he can keep that up, he might be an option, but I'm not sure that he will. Myers got a buy coming up, but he's been in fantastic form. I'm just not sure I'd target him with the buy coming up. Then Bont, I think you can go for. Stewart, I think you had to jump on him last week or the week before. I think it's gone now. You got to wait till after his buy if you're that keen, but he might even be too expensive at that point in terms of taking on that risk. But Bont is an option as well. I jumped on him last week. I know he only got 91, but he's got a great run, as I mentioned, with Kennedy coming up. So I'd be happy to jump on Bont like I was last week, and I'd still be encouraging people to do so. Going the most trade out players here, and a lot of them I probably don't even have to go into much detail with a lot of these guys, because a lot of them are pretty self-explanatory when I'm looking at all of them here. So like Levi Ashcroft's probably the one we can probably discuss a bit. So scored the 63 on the weekend, did really well in the second half to get to that score, but 9,000 jumping off him. He's the most trade out player of the week, probably because of his high ownership. But he's done his job, right? He's done his job. He went down in cash last week, so he went down 23k. He's still 762, so still at a really good price. But his break-in's 101 against GWS this week. His buy's coming up anyway. You're going to be trading him out. If you've got enough numbers this week, I'd be happy to trade. So he's done his job. We're very happy with Levi. He's going to be a gun. We're going to own him much more in the future. But I think that he's a guy that, I think we jump off and we get that upgrade going, because you could go down to a McKerch and make yourself 130k, which is crazy. You could go to a Doherty, spend yourself, what's that, 60k essentially. Or you can go up to a Butters, which is not even 200k. So it's you can go to him to a number of different options, but I think it is time to go. And again, Giants is a tough matchup as well. Riley Bice, a few people might be keen still hold after 93, but I'd be trading. He's on bye this week. He didn't drop a lot. His break-even's in the 60s now, but he played on a wing, which I didn't love. He still scored well, which is great, but the wing role we know can be very up and down. Roberts is still going to come back in. Does that mean... And then you've got Goulden as well. Will come back in, playing a wing a bit. Does that mean Bice is back to a sub? Is he going back to half back? There's just so much unknown. And he's a rookie at the end of the day. You trade him out. At least it was good and on a good note, but he's a trade for me. Xavier Lindsay, yep, same thing. Got a bye coming up, scored a 30, got subbed out. He can go. His cash gen has stopped. So he, what was his break even? So 74. He went down 13K on the weekend, and that was with a lower break even. Lindsay's been a decent cash cow for us. Obviously, that injury in, what round was it? Like round 3 or 4 or something like that. That really probably stunted a lot of the cash gen. Like, Lindsay could have been one of the best cash cows of the year. He could have ended up making like a heap more money. But that injury in round 3, yeah, so like 94.80 when he had a minus break even, really stunted it. And then he came back. He was managed back, lower score, had a couple of decent scores, but then was quiet again. I think if it wasn't for that injured game, he had 12 points really quickly, went to half back and was looking pretty good. He could have been completely different. But he's been still pretty solid. But yeah, obviously just not as big a year as what Lindsay could have. But he's going to be a really good player for Melbourne. They've definitely got a good one there, that's for sure. Matt Roberts, again, could probably go. If he didn't trade him last week, he can still go. Less of a trade out what he was last week to this week, because obviously last week he was missing 2 weeks, whereas this week, if you had him still, he's only going to miss 1 more week. I'm still fine to trade. He's been great this year, averaging 92. He's probably not going to be around that sort of top 6 to 8, and it's probably similar like Ned Long. You sort of were talking about holding or trading him, but he's averaged 100 for his last 3 games, whereas Roberts has only turned up, I believe it's twice this year, but only one of it obviously is counted for us. Obviously, opening round was one where he turned up, and then he turned up with a 104 against, or 114 against Gold Coast or something like that. Yeah, 114 against Gold Coast, but every other game has been, again, very consistent, and it's a luxury trade if you've still got him, because I think there might be other guys you could trade, like a Marek or a Bice, Ashcroft, Lindsay, guys like that. But I think, again, he's on bye. You can trade him, and I think you're fine to do so. Yep, so I'm happy to trade him. Sadio Hawley can go. Yep, obviously he's out for still a number of weeks with that hamstring injury. 339K, going him down to a Johnson gets you 50K. Going down to even a McCarthy gets you 109K. So he can go cash out of him and get some cash. Kako can go, similar thing, got a bit of cash on his head. He can go, obviously just not scoring big anyway as that small forward. He only scored 27 on the weekend. He's 378. He's actually losing money now. He's only made 74K for the year, so he can go. Nick Dacos, obviously people just trading because he's on bye, but you're not trading Nick Dacos. You're definitely not trading him. He's like the 4th highest averaging mid on average, which is crazy because he's had some lower scores this year, and we probably haven't seen the best of Nick Dacos, but I think he's a guy that can average really well on the way home. Obviously traded him in thinking he was going to do that. Obviously got a bad score first game back. But yeah, if we're looking at just straight mids in terms of averages, Jordan Dawson obviously is number 1 by a fair distance, averaging 111.5. Then you've got Brayshaw at sec at 2, 104.8. McCluggage at 3, 103.8. Caldwell at 4, exact same average. Nick Dacos is 5th highest averaging mid, along with Josh Dunkley, 103.2. And then you got Bond and Zach Merritt are pretty close behind, along with Tom Green. So I just think it's a hold. Simple as that. And he's had some low games. I think he has some good games. He's got West Coast. I think he goes like St Kilda, West Coast post by. Could be some big scores there. So I'd be keeping him. Hugh Boxall, yep, again, a bit like Sullivan, he can go. Obviously, he's had his bye. If he's named, you could cold, but he's obviously, when he's playing, he's not even playing that much anyway. Like, he's only playing 49% game time. Like, his first game, I think he played near 60%, which I was surprised they haven't really played him more like that, but they've played him so little. Like, 59% still pretty bad, but then 49%, 27% as sub. So he nearly played as much as a sub as we did in the full game, the other 2 games where he was 49%. But he just, when you sub that, when you're on the bench that much, you just can't really get yourself into the game because you're on the bench so much. So you're like, well, what's the point? You got 3 minutes and you're off again. So I'm hoping that he is in the team still with Filippo out and maybe plays a bit more of a forward role and with McRae back in. We'll just have to see if he's named. But yeah, whether he is or isn't, he's breaking 33. It's not like he's going to make a huge amount more cash even if he plays because he's going to play such low game time. But yeah, I'd be happy to trade. Davidson can go. I know he's had his bye, but dropped to 31 the weekend. He's going to undo all that work that he dropped 11K on the weekend. He's made some good money. He had a couple of decent scores. I think he had an 81 before the bye. So a few people probably held just to get those scores, but he's so expensive now that you can get a good upgrade for him, right? So, yeah, I'm happy to trade. He's only gone... it was a 94. I said 81, but it was a 94. So it was obviously a very good score. But yeah, I'm happy to trade. Break him 77. He's done a good job, but you can cash him in. Chad Warner, I'm probably holding at this stage still. Like, he's in again on that blanket for those last sort of couple of forward spots in terms of the top 6. He only scored 80 on the weekend, then 74. But the 74 was against the Crows when they got belted. And then 80 against Richmond, but gave away 5 free kicks. It's literally an equal career high. And he, funny enough, set that early in the year when he gave away 5 in like opening round or round 1 or something like that. I think it was round 1 against Brisbane, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And like, I know he gives away a free kick every now and again, a couple, but like if you look here, like 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 2, 1, 0, 1, and then 5 out of nowhere. So he's only had actually... So he actually doesn't give away as many free kicks. He's only had 1, 2, 3 games this year where he's given over 2 or more. And 2 of them been 5 free kicks. So, yeah, I think these years been pretty solid. He's pretty much going over 80 every week. And he's got that ceiling to go well over 110, which a lot of forwards don't have that ceiling. So, I think Chad Warner's an easy hold for me. Boyd, a lot of people trading him out, obviously, with Madden there. But, yeah, he can go if you make it work, but probably not getting a huge amount of cash. Peatling's got to go, suspend this week and then the bye. Rankin's obviously discussion, but probably got to have that next week. He does have Richmond and then Melbourne post the bye, so I'm still holding. I still think he'll be fine. So if you look at his lower scores, I guess there's a bit like Warner. There's a bit of a reason why he's had some of the lower scores of late. Obviously, his role has changed, which is another contributing factor. So I'm not just saying that he's had these low scores purely for this reason, but the role has changed. But when you look at it, 77 against in the showdown. Showdowns are always low-scoring fantasy games. Low one there. Went 89 back-to-back weeks against Collingwood and West Coast, which obviously isn't great, but still not awful either. Again, 63 against Sydney. Bit dewy, a little bit wet in that game. Obviously, it didn't rain, but they said it was raining throughout the weekend and that leading up to the game. And then rained a heap and only scored 68. Went more in the midfield in the second half, so I'm hoping that they get in a bit more in the mids. But with some of the matchups after the bye, I'm still leaning to holding. But I don't mind if you trade him next week if you're looking to jump off because he's obviously just not getting it done at the moment. And yeah, like again, I could go about these guys, but like Stone can go, Marias can go, Marriott can go, Cleary can go, Pryor can go, Trainer, Yep can go, Cameron, if you don't have a Cherry or even a Marshall, you could make that sideways switch. He could probably go as well. Noble can go, Simpson, Hardiman can go as well. I traded him in last week, but obviously with McKercher back there, he's not going to get as much ball, so he can go. And then Noah Anderson I'll be holding. I didn't see injury report, but obviously went for scans, but they said he was all clear. I don't even think he was on the injury report, to be honest. I'm just having a quick look as we wrap up. Gold Coast, yeah, he's not even on the injury report. So he just said he had it, but he's got no issues whatsoever, so he'll be fine post-bye. So that's the most traded out players is looking. In terms of my top 5 targets of the week, I'm going to go so many good options this week. I think there's a lot of different ways that people can go here. But I think that the number 1 option this week, I will go for, I think Zach Johnson I'll go at number 1, just because of the minus break even. We don't have a lot of rookies that have got such a low break even. And Cash Gen's obviously been stalled a lot. So I think Zach Johnson is a good option to go for. So I've got him as a clear rookie option to get this week. So I've got him at number 1. I'll go Colin McKercher number 2. I think the value is just so undeniable there that he's priced so cheaply. He scored 91, but I feel like as a non-owner probably could have been a lot more. And we almost got away with him not going bigger. So I think he's a great option I'd be jumping on. So I got him at number 2. I've got Doherty at number 3. I just think, again, the value there. A lot of people are looking for these value guys, and I think he fits the bill. West Coast, North Melbourne, 2 decent matchups. We know what he can do at half-back. I think he is a very good option to be looking at. At number 4, I have got... I'm actually going to go 2 players here. I'm going to go Matt Kennedy and Marcus Bontempelli at both at number 4, just because the run count for the Dogs is great. Kenny, obviously, we've seen how good he's been all year, but particularly last 7 weeks when he's turned up in all of them. And then Bont, obviously 91, and he didn't look great. So I think if that's his lowest score, he's going to go well. He's turned up in every other game that he has played a full game in besides last week. So I think Bont is going to be fine. Kenny's a great option as well. And I will finish it off with, again, another double one going to Siren Sinclair, whichever one you don't have. I think that'll round out my top 5. Nasir and Sinclair got so many games now at Mull for the remainder of the year. They got a great run as well. I think both of them are really good options. As I said, if I had to pick one, I'd go Nasir, but people might say maybe go Sinclair because he's cheaper and maybe probably less of a tag threat. But I like both. Great options. Also, I don't mind a Bergman, but I prefer those other guys I mentioned. I also like a Walsh if you're looking there as well. A few other options, like McCarthy's a good downgrade option potentially. Jackson's potential another option to downgrade to. Also, Luke Jackson's another option you could consider as well off the bye. Closely downgrade. Butters I really like as well. He probably was unlucky to not get in the top 5 just with the value. But I guess just with the tag risks coming up with the next couple of weeks, that's probably just put him slightly down the list. But I have looked at him a lot and was looking at targeting him over the next few weeks. So I'll definitely be bringing him at some point. It's just a matter of when, not if. So cool. That's my top 5 targets for the week. In terms of, and then I'd say Butters is probably 6. I'd probably say Butters is 6, even though saying that. So he's just outside for people that were probably thinking he's probably stiff to miss out in the top 5. I think just those other guys are probably more locked in if you've got the money. But if you need the cash, Butters is an option for sure. But my trades this week, so they've pretty much been the same as what I said on the pod on Monday and also last night. I'm going Carroll to down to Zach Johnson to cash up bit, going Bice to McKercher and Levi Ashcroft to Sam Doherty. I'm pretty happy with those trades. Still yet to finalise them definitely, but I'd be surprised if I changed them a great deal. I'm really keen on Doc and McKercher, and Zach Johnson as a rookie downgrade is someone I'll be getting in. I'm pretty sure of that. I do need to get a forward rookie in because technically Shea Bolton is my F7 at the moment. So I just need to get a forward rookie to then put one of those other forward mids into the midfield, maybe trade them at some point down the line. But yeah, just to get those preens on field, that's what I'm looking at doing. Or if it's one of those forwards down to a rookie to then make 2 upgrades, maybe that's the way I look at it instead. So cool. That'll wrap us up for trade talk. But let me know in the comments below, guys, what you guys are doing with your trades for round 14. I was going to say round 13 then. Be interested to see what moves you guys are making ahead of the 3rd bye week. And any questions, put them in the comments, and I'll try and get to a few of those questions if I can. But if you would like a guaranteed answer to your question or a team review, head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. As I do say, because I get so many messages on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all the comments on YouTube, I can't always guarantee an answer for them. So if you do want a guaranteed answer, you can head to our Patreon, exclusive Patreon Q&As. Every Wednesday night, record them or Thursday morning, so you get them before the teams are dropped on the Thursday. So Patrons get that. I do answer all the questions as well on there. Every Patreon member gets a team review per week through the Ask Me on Q service, which Patreon members get for free. So if you'd like to do that, plus help support us at the same time, if you'd like to do that, then head to our Patreon. Link is in the description of the video below, or patreon.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. You can also use Ask Me on Q if you don't want to become Patreon, as just a one-off small fee if you'd like to help support us, but get a team review or your question answered there. With a personalised audio response. So head over to AskMeOnQ, spelled QU.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. But that'll do us for the trade talk. As I said, make sure you do smash a like on the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. We are less than 70 away. We are, I think, 66 last time I checked, away from 4,000. So we are getting very, very close. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do so we can hit that massive goal. Very much appreciate and you guys have absolutely smashed it this year with all the support. It is very, very much appreciated. I'll be back tomorrow night for obviously captains, or tomorrow afternoon for captains, and then another watch along we'll be doing for the St Kilda and Dogs game. Very fantasy relevant game, that one. So we'll be doing watch along for that one. So looking forward to that. Then obviously a pre-lockout chat on Friday, as always, the usual time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. per time. Not sure if I'm going to watch on because obviously Crows are playing that night, but we'll see. So, But yeah, cool. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Like, subscribe, do all the good stuff, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. So thanks everyone. Catch you then. See ya.